Welcome to a very special episode here in the shop. Today, we just got a whole bunch of fun stuff we're going to do, something a little bit different. Just wanted to have some fun today, and also, well, there's a present that I want to give to you guys, so don't go away. It'll be, closer to the end of this, and don't go cheating and sliding all the way forward because you're going to miss all the goodness that I have planned for you for today. So let's watch just a quick intro to the show, and then we'll get right into it. I'm Mike, and
this is My Cars Shop.
I actually have spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do for today's episode since I knew it was going to land right on Christmas Day. And I even considered for a little while just not doing an episode today so that you guys could focus on your families and all the celebrations and parties. But I realized that just because it comes out at 7 o'clock on Sunday morning doesn't mean you have to watch it on Christmas Day. So it's the season, and yes, this is dropping on Christmas Day. Now, here's the thing. I have really thought long and hard about what I wanted for Christmas, particularly for this episode. And I thought a lot about some fun things, and I thought about some creative projects we could do, and it was reminiscent of what my buddy Ruben over at Muscle City Madness has been going through with his Mr. Hyde B-Body Mopar. And I thought, we could break some parts and create some content that way.
So we're going to talk about some stuff right now. So I wanted to ask you guys, what came first, the chicken or the egg? When I got under the car yesterday, and you guys that were watching that live stream will already know this, when I went to pull the drive shaft out, the U-joint was broken and it was bound up into the drive shaft. So it had kicked one of the caps off. It's probably on the staging lines at Tucson Dragway.
But then I realized that's kind of in the context of what we already do here on a regular basis, both mechanically and with fabricating. And so I thought, maybe that's not what we want to do. Maybe we want to do something that's crazy like my brothers over at Iron Horse Garage.
Hi, welcome to Iron Horse Garage. I'm Foghorn Leghorn. This is Speedy Gonzalez, and we're going to talk about a very cool project today.
So Mike over at My Car Shop challenged us to talk about the most cobbled up car, vehicles, crap that we have worked on.
Everything we have is really nice.
Might not look like a truck, but it is underneath all this junk.
No, it's actually really nice. That's a really nice rig.
Well, it blew my hat off. We were going so fast. Now we got to go back and get it. Man, the sucker runs good.
I still think we're going to jail.
But I realized I don't really have the time nor the energy to take something like that on. So I thought about doing project updates and letting you know everything that's going on in the channel with all the different projects, like my buddy John over at Life at Speed.
Looks like I might have a window in the next couple of weeks to be able to get some more stuff done, get it buttoned up and get it ready to take out on the road for its first trial run since a lot of the suspension updates. So I still unfortunately have one of these guys still to replace. I need to install this guy on the driver's side. That is still needing to be completed for the suspension. So I'm gonna try and get that buttoned up, and then once that's squared away, go ahead.
But I decided that I've done that recently on the channel, and that probably wasn't the best interest of my time or your time. So then I thought, maybe I need to go on a hunt for a new race car, like my friends Blake and Jabo over at Bad Tree Productions, and just go on a road trip and take you guys along.
Beautiful. It looks like we're at peak leaf season here today.
Right.
Isn't it?
If I was a blue hair, I'd be all about it.
You bet, I reckon. Yeah.
Me too.
Whatever.
It's going to be a nice car in like typical Bad Tree Production fashion. Let's go gather ourselves a car, not do any paint and body work, and just assemble it.
Right. Yeah, this time.
So I'm really happy.
I mean, that's kind of what the Dodge Whisperer recently did over on his channel. He went and actually came up to Michigan and then down to Ohio and bought himself a really nice Christmas present. That would be fun.
It's 8:30. About 2 weeks later, there's a demon here. Guys, you ready?
It's dark. We've got a tractor, a clapped out Cummins, and a trailer. Sounds like we got a delivery for the Dodge Whisperer. Oh, would you look at there?
Of course, if you know the Dodge Whisperer at all, you know that he really does know what he's talking about. Just like my buddy Joe over on the Just Mopar Joe channel. The guy really knows his stuff, and he knows how to build engines and do body work and all kinds of really cool stuff. And he's recently done some real in-depth work on engine building for a 400 build that he's doing, and specifically some in-depth work on aluminum heads. And I thought, you know, we could do a bunch of head work like that.
All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm Just Mopar Joe. It's a big day. I finally got my Edelbrock heads back, and they are glorious. I'm going to show you in this video how you can improve your Edelbrock heads, especially if they say out of the box, ready to bolt on. And you can basically do any of this stuff to any new aluminum heads that you buy. So let's check it out. There's the part number of these Edelbrock heads. And kind of one of the final steps in the process, Ed was able to CC one chamber in each head for me. And that was a good benefit just so I can figure my final compression ratio. This one came out to 75.6, and I believe this one is 76 cc. So that was one chamber to one chamber. So that does not mean that this chamber is the same as that chamber.
And I remember that I recently had my head examined, as so many of you tell me I probably should have done. And we had done an episode on tearing this head apart for the 413, 426 project, and realized that might be kind of redundant. So I started to really wonder what would be the ultimate Christmas episode. And of course, in my mind, that always lands me back with our good friend Duddy over at Duddy's Adventure.
Howdy there, guys and gals. On today's episode, we need to get a Christmas tree. Well, a Texas Christmas tree. There's really only one thing you can use to get a Texas tree. Seems like a good idea.
Try as I might, I couldn't top that. I'm not sure that anybody could. That to me was the ultimate Christmas episode. And I think Duddy's even going to have a hard time topping that one. So as I thought about it, I thought, what would be a great Christmas present, not so much for me, but for everybody here on the channel. And I've alluded to this a while, and I've talked about it for a while, but I've given hints, and I've gone down a couple different paths, but I decided that today would be a great day to talk about and show you the ultimate plan for the Golden Mullet. If you've stuck around for a while on the channel, then you know that I've had a couple different schools of thought, and we've definitely shown you that we're going to be building the chassis table and building a tube chassis, and the car's going to have a roll cage, and it's going to have a 426 big block in it with potentially a supercharger on it and all of that stuff. But ultimately, I still had not decided until recently whether or not I was going old school gasser or more modern pro stock, drag, pro street kind of look for the car. And the more I've thought about it, because of the way I do things here, because of the availability of parts, I was really seriously thinking about going down the path of old school gasser. But I don't have a lot of the stuff here to do that. And I did dig around and ask around and try to find some stuff. And it just wasn't really coming together in my mind. But as I started thinking about building the tube chassis for this car and realized how much stuff I already have here, how little I'm going to have to spend to build this car if I go this direction, then we're going to go the Pro Street Pro Mod look for this car. So here is a picture, a mock-up from a picture on the internet that I stole and did a huge amount of Photoshop work on. Here is what the Golden Mullet is ultimately going to look like. You know that I try to share as much as I can with you about things on the project, but there are some things that even I won't share, and it's not because I'm hiding anything, it's just they're really, really boring. The amount of hours that I spend online and do some research and dig into things, and I've been digging into what parts to use in the engine and how I want to build the chassis and so forth. So ultimate big picture here is, as we've said, I found the pistons. I've talked to a lot of people, thanks to Ed over at Ed's Machine for his input. He's been a big help in kind of reaffirming some of the things that I believe and the way that I do things, and he's been real good at that. And I also talked to my buddy Dean, who works up here in the motorsport shop, the machine shop that I use. He's a big Mopar guy and a drag racer. And he's kind of confirmed some things as well. So let me clarify one thing right now. The Golden Mullet is not going to be a full-blown race car that I take to the racetrack and drag race every single weekend. So that's a context for this car. It's basically going to be a Pro Street / Pro Mod car because it's full tube chassis. That's going to be street legal, maybe, sort of, kind of. Phase 1 is going to be the 413 punched out 62 thousandths. Wiseco has a set of forged pistons, 10-to-1 compression with a 76cc head, and I forgot the head gasket thickness. That's the direction I'm going so far. With that, ultimately, we'll be able to put that 671 blower on it and keep it undersped to no more than 7 psi of boost, which is going to be pretty good. I was hoping to find lower compression pistons, be able to overspeed that blower up around 14, 15 pounds of boost. But we're going to accomplish the same thing. We're just not going to get as much of our power from boost, which is good because phase 1 of this project will probably not have the 671 blower. I have a special way that I want to do that blower, so let me go get the blower and share that with you. And here we go. Now, when you pictured in your mind, I said a 671 blower, some of you might have been imagining a highly polished unit that was ready to put on the car. No, this is off of a Detroit diesel, a 671 diesel. It's in really good shape. Of course, we haven't measured anything, but there's very little scoring on the rotors. It's a good core unit to work with to convert from the diesel engine to the gasoline engine. Now, I've not done this before. I know how it's done. I've been around blowers and I've worked on them, so I've got some ideas of things that I want to try. There's a ton of videos on the internet on how to do it, and we'll need to make a new back cover for it. I'm not going to make a new front cover. I'll bring you around here and let you see what this looks like. I intend to use the original front cover. I'm going to try to see if I can find the blower snout that bolts right onto here. If not, we'll make one. We can do it. We have the technology. Make our own covers. Of course, we'll get this all sandblasted and polished up. Take you through the disassembly process, the cleanup process, all of the stuff that we go through to convert this. There are ears over here that we need to cut off from where it hung, because you would set this up. It hangs on the side of a 671 diesel, and so there's ears to hold it in place and help line it up. Those need to be machined or cut off. Now, there's just a lot of stuff we're going to do. We're going to maybe consider machining our own carburetor adapter plate to go on the top of here. I'm not sure yet, but here's my point in this. I don't have a blower manifold. I don't have a blower drive kit. I don't have the carburetor plate. I don't have the rear plate made. We've got to convert the bearings inside. These are wet bearings. In experience, we have found over the years that if you do sealed bearings, you can keep your oil level much lower in the gear side of the case because it doesn't have to be high enough to lubricate those bearings. We've had good success with that. A buddy of mine had that on his big block Chevelle, and it worked really, really well. So there's just a whole lot of stuff we're going to go through, and I don't claim to be any kind of expert at this. I've been around it, I've worked on it, but I am certainly no expert. So I'm all ears for people who say, hey, there's some good resources here, or here's what we did, or here's what we did that didn't work, or you're nuts and don't do this at all. I'm still going to do it. This is going to be phase 2. And I think we're going to put a tunnel ram on it and some things like that, and make it really hot. But set this part of the project aside for now, and go ahead and take this on as a project in a phase 2 for the car, so that we can just get things moving forward and work all the bugs out of the chassis in the car. Then there's just going to be a lot of stuff. Way back in the day when I was doing a bunch of projects at Mercury Marine, or for Mercury Marine, I built some motoring rigs and test fixtures and so forth, and we used 3-inch wide, basically blower drive belts and pulleys on that rig. And I've been doing the research trying to find that. It intrigues me to see how inexpensively I could make my own blower drive for this out of those things. They're basically the same stuff. I think way back in the day, some of those blower drive belts and so forth came from industrial applications. So it's kind of like going backwards again from that to what you can go out and buy the blower drive kit and all that stuff for $1,200 or something like that for the 440, 413, 426 RB engine. But it's intriguing to me to do it old school hot rod way and see what I can find to make it work and go that route. So I think we're going to set that aside, as I said, and make that a phase 2 on this project and get this motor put together minus that to start and see where we go from there. I may change my mind as I go forward. But that's what I'm thinking now. I'm going to continue to do the research and look for the parts and make some decisions as we go forward. So I'll inform you as I think about it and make those decisions. So that's where we're at with the Golden Mullet project. Nothing hidden anymore. The reason I wasn't telling you where I was heading with it was because I really hadn't decided until just a few weeks ago. I was really waffling back and forth. I mentioned John earlier. We shared a clip of John from Life at Speed. He and I talk a lot, and we were kind of kicking things back and forth behind the scenes, and he was encouraging me to consider going with the old gasser style look, and I really, really thought about it. But I just don't have, in my opinion, in my resource warehouse here, I just don't have the stuff to do it, because even though it's going to be a tube chassis car, I still plan on reusing a lot of the stock Mopar front suspension, because I have it. Why go out and spend thousands of dollars for what I'm doing? In context, understand that's the point of this, is I'm not building a drag race car that I'm going to be taking out to the track every weekend and hammering the crap out of. I will take this car to the track occasionally. It'll spend a lot of time ripping up and down in front of the house like the Pro Street Dart does and that kind of stuff. But to me, it'd be a fun car to be able to take to town and so forth. So the way we're going to build this is with that in mind, using what we have. I've been getting prices on like getting the rods shot peened, because the LY rods look like they're going to work as long as they're treated right with some good rod bolts, ARP bolts put in them. Get them shot peened, get them tested, magnafluxed, all the stuff they need to do with the rods. I did look at some Eagle rods, $800 for a set of Eagle rods. I ran into my buddy the other day, Paul, known as Racer Brown around here. He's got a super fast 68 Dart bracket car that he runs. I think it runs in the 8s flat out, but he runs it in the 9s or the 10s with throttle stop and delay box and all the stuff that they do that I don't totally understand and doesn't matter. But and he said he might have some parts for me as well, so I'll get with him. But just looking, we got a good forged crank. I'm not going to bother, going to some super unobtainium crank for a street car. For what I'm going to do, the horsepower level I'm looking at, I was thinking 1,000. I'm probably going to not go that high, because just the cost of everything right now with the economy the way it is and with my finances the way they are, we'll probably back that down a little bit. It's still going to be stupid fast. I'm going to build it with the idea probably of 1/8 mile in mind. I've never done that before. The Dart was built for 1/4 mile. That car was built to run in the 11s, and it should run in the 11s with the nitrous shot that it's got on it and so forth. And we just never have taken it to the track. So yes, Daddy, I know you've been saying take that car to the track. It's got a couple of issues right now that I'm going to need to address before I can really do that without hurting the car. So that's going to happen at some point, but not now. Further on that project, we are going automatic transmission. I don't want to mess with, even though we have another 4-speed upstairs, I don't think I want to mess with putting a 4-speed in the Mullet. That just adds a whole nother level of complications. And for what I want to do with the car, I really think going with a 727 probably makes more sense. My biggest temptation, my biggest thing with this is I'm going to be plugging away on this motor, of course, off and on. I've got some parts actually coming for the motor that we'll do on the channel here in the next couple of weeks probably, just to share things as I'm finding super deals and steals and gathering things. And friends are helping out and viewers are helping out and so forth. Some of you have been mentioning in the comments, hey, if you need stuff, ask the viewers. I don't even know what to ask for at this point. We have so many things going on, and I really, it's not a pride thing. It's not that I'm afraid to ask, because I will ask if I truly, hey, does somebody have a, you know. But the way it works around here a lot of times is I will be mentioning something that I'm thinking about, and somebody will message me on Facebook or send me an email, because the email address is down there in the description, and say, hey, I happen to have this. Could you use that for your project? Yeah, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's great. So we're always open to anything you guys want to do. We always appreciate that, and we love featuring your stuff on the show, because to me that makes this about our build, not just my build, and you get to participate. It's like you get to spend some time here in the shop, and when you see these projects, of course, you know, hey, that's my part right there, and that's kind of cool, I think. I have seriously toyed with naming this build the right way to do everything wrong. There are things you can't compromise on. There are a lot of things you can compromise on based upon context. And as you've heard me say around here many times, contexts are not just the text messages you get from your relatives and friends in prison. But there's always a context to everything. And, you know, some people will question that. That dart out there, I've had that car together since about 99, 2000, I think is when I first got it on the road. So 22 years. In the first 5 years, I hurt the motor. So the motor and transmission that's been in there 15 years or more, 15, 17 years, something like that. Yeah, about 17 years. And, you know, I don't drive it a lot. Of course, it was down for a few years, but it gets driven really hard when we do. That car is it's a stout little machine. This one, not this one, the Mullet is going to be even stouter, and we're going to take it even further. But there's things that you have to do if you want stuff to last at all. And that sounds kind of counter to my channel, where I'm saying do it, you know, have fun, be safe, and that kind of stuff. But I want to share with you the things you can do, the things you can think about, things you can get away with, things that go maybe not necessarily in the box with recommended stuff, because so much of what's recommended is to build something that's absolutely bulletproof and indestructible that you can run down the drag strip weekend after weekend, month after month, year after year. And that's not what we're going for here, obviously. So, all right, that's going to do it for this episode. Merry Christmas, everybody, and thanks for being here. We're over on the Face thing. We're over on Instagram. She loves us and buys us cookies, /mycarshop on both of those things. We're here on the You thing, so like and subscribe and share these videos on your social media content. Share the channel with other people. We're doing a great job of growing, and I'm really excited to see where the channel is going to go in the next year. All right, that'll do it. Merry Christmas and rock!